Hello and welcome to episode 67 of the Law Firm Marketing Mastery Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Christopher Small, and today's episode is a doozy. But before we get to it, I want to make a couple of announcements per usual, talk a little bit about what's been going on with me and my firm and this podcast and this site and all kinds of good stuff. First things first, this is episode 67. You can find the show notes for this episode at lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/67. This is an interview episode to give it away early, but in the episode I think I called point you to 68, but it's not. It's 67. So burn 67 into your brain right now. Do not go to 68 because you're not going to find what you're looking for. Another thing is, I have been reaching out and actually setting up a lot of interviews for this podcast lately. I like the idea of me talking directly to you, but there are a lot of people out there that have a lot of great information to share, and I want to expose you to them. So I've got a bunch of cool interviews lined up with some really cool people, but I also wanted to reach out to you, the audience, to ask for your own submissions. Of people that you think I should interview, and B, of yourself. It's okay to nominate yourself for an interview. What I'm looking for really from you guys is successful lawyers, looking for people that have started or bought or work in successful law firms and want to talk about some of the strategies and tips and mindset tricks and leadership values that they have contributed to your success. So if you fall into that mold, please send me an email, chris@lawfirmmarketingmastery.com, and tell me your name, tell me who you are, and tell me a little bit about yourself, and we'll get a dialogue going and see if you're a good fit for the show. One of the cool things about that is that everyone is going to get to hear about you here, which is great press for you, and then B, you're going to get some links back in the show notes, which will help you out with some SEO stuff and all that kind of stuff, all that kind of information. In particular, if anything on this show has helped you, I would love to hear about that. I'm always curious. You guys are pretty silent out there as far as let me know if this is helping you or not. There are some vocal ones out there which I appreciate, and it's always nice to know that people are listening, that people are enjoying what's going on, and that you are getting something useful and valuable out of what I'm talking about. So shoot me an email, again, chris@lawfirmmarketingmastery.com, and let me know. Another thing is, while I'm here, and I haven't asked for this for a really long time, if you're ever on iTunes and piddling around and you want to give me a review, that would be awesome. What reviews do is basically let me know that you like what's going on. It also lets iTunes know that you like the show, which can have an effect on the ratings. So give me a review. Go over there. It takes 30 seconds, and it will. I'd really appreciate it, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, enough about me and what I'm doing. Let's talk about this week's interview. So this week we are talking to Chuck Vann. Okay, Chuck Vann he's not a lawyer. He is a law firm management and marketing consultant is the best way that I could describe it. I've met Chuck probably 18 months ago or so. He was working, excuse me. He was working at that time with Arjon Robbins, who has a coaching program that I was a part of. I've since left that, and then Chuck has since moved on from Arjon and kind of opened his own deal. And he sent me an email, let me know about that, and when that happened, I knew I had to get him here on the show and talk to him because he has a bunch of really great insight and information and tips, tricks for all of us to use to be better law firm owners, to be more successful in what we do, to streamline our processes and really to just run a tighter ship. So that's who we're talking to today. There's a bunch of great stuff in here. We talk about what he sees as good characteristics in law firm owners versus bad. We talk about some things like the number one thing that law firms can do if they want to get ahead. He just shares a lot of his wisdom and a lot of stories about his time working as the business manager for law firms that have ranged in size of, I think, 4 attorneys up to 300 plus attorneys. So he's been around the block a couple times. And I can tell you in my conversations with him off air, when he was my coach, that he really does know what he's talking about. And he really does have a lot of great insight and information. And I know that by listening to this, you're going to get a bunch out of it. At the end of the show, there's a little free nugget that we're going to be giving away for you for listening to the show. So make sure you listen to that. And that's it. So without further ado, Mr. Chuck Vann. So, who are you and what do you do?
I am Charles Chuck Vann. I have, for the last 30 years, been the senior non-lawyer in 300 to 400 attorney law firms. Of course, I had to start in smaller firms, but my career managed to get me to that level. And since then, I have now kind of set up my own group to help really smaller firms that are merging or evolving into not only larger law firms in the sense of adding attorneys and staff, including paralegals and administrative staff, but also in evolving into being pure business entities so that the practice of law is supported by a great and a very thought-through business platform. And so I'm doing that now on a consulting basis. And it comes from my 30 years of experience of being the executive director and chief operating officer in these firms. And regardless of the size, the problems that large firms or medium-sized firms face are very similar to the same problems that smaller firms face. The difference is they have greater resources to call upon to help them solve those problems. I like to think that I can provide that resources for the smaller group and help them in their development stages. Each firm has its own particular stage of development, and I think with what I'm currently doing, I can help people look at that objectively and help them, go to the next level, whatever the next level is that they have defined.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And I'll give the listeners a little bit of background on that. We have a bit of a relationship going in the past.
Yes.
You were essentially a business coach for me for about 6 or 7, 8, 9 months, maybe.
Yep.
Everyone knows that, I used to use Arjan for some coaching services. I've had Arjan on here in the past as an interview, mm-hmm. And you're kind of a part of his group, right?
Right. I was part of Arjan's group, and I have now left that group. And, well, I was really never part of the group in the sense of employed. I was a contractor to Arjan, and I helped him with his clients, such as good folks like you, in the coaching part of this. What I'm doing now, Chris, is a little bit different from Arjan. And it's not, and it does include strategic thinking. It does include mentoring. And I guess you could file that under a coaching category, but it's more the mentoring that I'm providing to the law firm owners. And I'm also, I'm doing more also tactical. Whereas before, I kind of use this as an example. Some outfits similar to what Arjan has, and I don't want to get into a comparison of Arjan and me, but I think it's an easy comparison to make to understand the differences, whether it's Arjan's group or somebody else. Some groups focus on teaching you how to fish. They teach you that here's what you need to do so that, and it's a sound strategy, that here is how you fish. And here's the bait you need to use to catch these types of fish. There's the lake. I'll call you in 30 days to see how many fish you catch. And then that's a learning process for the person. That's a coaching process where, you're told how it needs to get done. You're given some direction as to where you can find those resources to get it done. But the actual getting it done, taking the knowing and the doing, is up to you. I think there's another way that can be approached, and it accomplishes the same thing, and then it has value added to it. And that is, I like to go down to the lake with you. I like to go down to the lake, and I'll show you the bait, and I'll show you the ones which hooks to use, and I'll show you the right places to make your cast, and I'll catch the fish, and I'll bring the fish in, and I'll cook them for you, and I'll say, here's how you want it. You want to be fried, you want it boiled, what have you. And in the process, you're observing what I'm doing, and you're learning as much as almost on OJT type of learning as you would be, and being cast into a role of, here's how you do it. Now go see how good you are at it. So I kind of mix both the strategic and the tactical in my practice, so that if we prioritize what we need to get done, we agree on the prioritizations, we take the first action item, and that I help you, not only help you implement it, sometimes I implement it for you. So that's kind of the difference in what you and I had before, and my own practice now is I'm adding that tactical part to it, which I think is very important.
Right, and that's a lot, and that's good to hear. That's a lot of kind of what I do here too. Is sort of I'll share some stories, but then I'll also break it down, like exactly this is what I did, and this is how you do it, and this is how you get there.
Right.
Because sometimes you can lose. The how-to is important sometimes when you've never done something before. You understand the concept, but what do you do first can sometimes really kind of just stop you in your tracks.
Exactly. You can open up the bicycle and see the directions of the bike, but it's a whole lot easier to learn how to put a bike together if somebody says, watch this, let me show you. And the next time you have a bike for your second child, you pretty good have a pretty good handle on how you put that bike together, and it's not to scare you away because of all the bolts and the nuts and the washers.
Definitely. And one of the things that I think is great about having a kind of a coach or a mentor, or however you want to describe it, is that you also have someone to help you through that kind of initial fear, or the things that are holding you back from kind of just getting started, because this is all new for everyone most of the time. And it can be difficult to kind of overcome that voice in your head that's telling you what happens if you fail, or what happens if, I don't know, any of the other 100 different things that your mind will kind of come up with to try to get you to
and that's
stop.
What the mind works is exactly right. You have a tendency to, when you have options to select from different solutions, you kind of just freeze in your tracks because what if this is not the right one? I should have tried the other. And then you end up doing nothing. And in managing law firms, particularly managing law firms, you can create a genuine competitive advantage in your firm by being an informed decision maker. Making a decision faster than your competitor can help you, get a bigger piece of that market. And it's look at all the other businesses that are out there. They make a decision and they go with it. And, as long as it's something that's flexible enough that we can alter in the process, it's the right decision.
Right. And the fact is, what stops 99% of people from reaching any kind of success is the fact that they actually just don't ever do anything.
Correct.
I mean, it's better to, honestly, in my opinion, it's better to do something that doesn't work than to do nothing at all, because then at least and you can try something else.
I had my first managing partner told me many years ago in Jacksonville. I was in a 24 attorney firm, and they had never had a business manager, and it worked out because I had never been a business manager for a law firm. But we grew up together, and it was a great experience, which really got my interest in doing this and making a career out of it. He told me one time, he said, Chuck, I was struggling with some type of decision. He said, unless you have physically harmed somebody, or if you've actually taken somebody's life, we can undo it. Just go ahead and try what you think you want to get done. And if it doesn't work, we can go back and try something else. And I've always kept that mindset, and I've shared that with a lot of people that we've got to do something, and we can always change it. You don't have to be right 100% of the time. It's nice to be that way, but you have a whole lot better chance of not being 90%, 100% right. I think if you have somebody that really is involved with you as a partner with you and helping you, saying, hey, I've done this before, here's what happened when I did it, we need to be prepared for that. And if you're not, then maybe we have another option. So I've always kind of thought that that managing partner probably had a better handle on the big picture than maybe I gave him credit for, because I'd never been in a law firm. I had no idea what a managing partner was supposed to be. But
Right.
I think that's some wise words.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about how'd you get into this business? I don't know. Was that your first kind of foray into the law firm managing kind of business, or how'd you get into it?
That's exactly right. That was my first. Back in 1984, I had been a contract administrator for a large mechanical contract, and I had all administrative knowledge, and I had a working knowledge of accounting and the numbers and all of that. A friend of mine mentioned to me that he knew a partner in a law firm that they thought they needed a business manager. But they really weren't sure what they needed, because this was a new concept that firms back in the late 70s and early 80s were introducing. And, they were hiring business people to come into their law firms to manage the business side of the law firm. Or that's what they want. But there weren't a whole lot of business people out there that had this type of professional service firm experience. So they were really going more to somebody that would come close, more of a leadership position, like former officers in the military. They were bringing people like that in. So I met this person. He said, let's have lunch together. And he set up the lunch. I met him. We talked a while. And really, that's exactly what happened. He said, I said, we ought to be a perfect couple, because if you don't know really what the business manager is going to be doing, I don't know what they're supposed to be doing either. So let's learn it together. And we did. 4 years I was with them, learning everything from realization rates and work in process and write downs and all of that good stuff, thinking I was inventing this all, because nobody else has thought of it. And of course they had. I just didn't have enough knowledge, didn't know where to go to find it. So I kind of learned by on the job training. And I realized around in 1988 that if I was going to do this for a career, I needed an MBA. I needed to go back and get an MBA. It's what I did. I left them. I'm a full-time. I went back to school full-time. Had my MBA and graduated in 90, I guess it was. And from there, people in my position are like professional baseball players. You have to kind of start with a small firm, and you hope to get the call up to the AA and to the AAA, and then the major league teams. Major league being, in my case, a larger firm, 200, 300 and above law firm. And I was very fortunate. That's exactly what I did. I went from a 24 attorney firm to a 60 attorney firm, to an 85, to 125, to 350. And that covered 30 years. And I really kind of just stumbled into it. But once I really realized and understood the need for good management and business management in law firms, and got with the right firms, the right firms being the firms that recognize the value that a businessman can bring to their organization. It was a great environment to work in. I mean, you're surrounded by very intelligent people, by very complex and detailed work, not only at the attorney level, but your support staff have got to be a cut above the average, because they're dealing with very self-motivated and intelligent folks. So I enjoyed that arena, and I made, I think, a very successful career out of it. And now I'm not, I don't want to climb ladders anymore. I'm ready. And this sounds somewhat, trite, but I'm not sure of the word I'm looking for, but I would like to get that. I do want to talk with young people like yourself that are starting their firms and looking at ways to grow, and what should I be focusing on, and those kinds of things, and share my knowledge with them and help them through whatever issues they're particularly facing.
Right. And we're going to get some of that out of you today, right? For free. And then they can call you and pay you later.
Sure.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. What I know that at least through some of the stuff that you did with Arjun, that you have some pretty substantial experience with smaller firms, as well as the bigger firms. And a lot of the people that listen to this show, I think, would probably fall into the small law firm kind of a category. Either they're just starting out, or they have a smaller firm, because most of the people here, I think, are trying to get some information about how to make more money, usually get more clients, kind of run their firm better, all that kind of stuff that you know about.
Right.
What do you think, in your experience, and I know these are all going to be kind of general questions, because that's the best that we can do here today,
Sure.
is what's kind of one of the most common problems that you see with, this specific set of law firm owners when you speak to them? What's kind of a common theme for kind of quick turnaround, or quick growth, or just really taking a step forward quickly? What's that big thing that you will see most of the time from these kind of firms?
Well, the biggest thing that I see that gets in the way of the firm growth rates, it's just a balance of time, and it's more than time management. It's the understanding. It's a comprehensive understanding that the firm has all these moving pieces. And you have to understand, first, when you open up the bicycle box, you're going to see all these pieces. You've got to understand how they fit together. And if you lack that understanding, no fault of your own, because I haven't found a law firm yet, a law school yet, and maybe they're there now. I haven't done that much recent research, that actually has offerings to young to lawyers, students, law students, that teaches them the business of law, whether you're in a big firm or whether you're going to start your own firm. There's no sitting down and saying, look, the business of law is an entirely different animal than the practice of law.
Right.
The HR functions, the IT functions, the policies and the policies and supporting procedures for that. You're balancing other work staff. How many paralegals do you need? How many associates do you need? How much work should they be doing? All of this is all part of the big picture. And what I see most is people getting lost, because there's so much that if you stack up on your desk before you disappear behind it all. And that creates just you just freeze. The process stops because you don't know which stack of paper to grab next. You're thinking there's a panacea there, that you could grab the right one, everything else will fall in place. But that's not necessarily true. It depends on your area of practice. It depends on your market, your pricing. It depends on the size of your staff, the number of offices. So it's really getting the hands around how all the pieces fit together, how they're all important, and then how, establishing, if you have a weak link, we need to prioritize that. We got to fix that, so that you have what happens in your firm, whether you're there or not. That you now have a much more clearer picture. I look at it this way: you have a film, a movie that you'd like to watch, but you put the movie on and you get hung up on just a few frames of the movie, maybe one scene, and right. you keep running the movie back and watching that scene. It's a great scene, you got to watch it. You showed it, but you never watched the movie. You don't even know how the movie ends. You don't even know the storyline of the movie, because you get hung up on just this one piece of it. And that's what I see mostly, is that the owners sincerely believe and genuinely believe that what they're doing is correct. But in some cases, it's not necessarily so. They need to rearrange their priorities. So that's the big thing.
Okay. And I guess taking this to one a different level, but probably but sort of similar. When it comes to specific law firm owners and specific people that you work with that own law firms, right, as opposed to the business itself, mm-hmm. What do you think are what are some of the characteristics that you see from people that separate, really, really great or successful people that open law firms versus people that aren't as successful or don't reach the goals that they want? And I guess the context that I want it to be in here is, I personally don't think that there are any people that are just born great law firm owners necessarily. I think that whatever qualities, for example, you're going to talk about, I hope, are qualities that people can work on and think about and be conscious of the way that they are handling these things to make, I guess, themselves a better law firm owner, which will then, translate over into their business in and of itself.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Do you have some of those? What are a couple of those things that you notice from people that are reaching success that they want?
They have realistic expectations. They recognize that it's not a perfect world. They're flexible in their style and in their thinking. They're not tied to one particular theory or one particular tactic. They realize that there are alternatives to what they're doing. They have a sense of purpose. They know what they want to. They know in their minds how they want their law firm to function. What they know their competitive advantages, and they create them and they use them. Competitive advantage could be anything from pricing to locations to a full service firm. An example is I work with a very successful law firm in Huntsville, Alabama. New Beginnings law firm, family law firm, and the owner of that law firm is very forward thinking. You would not know it. I have to keep telling her that because she doesn't give herself enough credit. But her forward thinking and her flexibility and her sense of purpose are so strong. She is going to be able to build that law firm, and when we get to a certain level of revenue, we're going to duplicate that in other markets that she's already got picked up. But her sense of purpose is she wants to be able to deliver to her clients, not just a document to sign here and the divorce is, you're now divorced. She has people, counselors you can talk to. She has, real estate people you can talk to. She has bankers. She has estate lawyers and all that. So as things change in your life, she gives all that to her clients. And one of the things that I thought was very innovative is she actually has IT folks come in that teach both moms and dads who now will be separated from their children how to use the social network, how to use the iPhone to say goodnight to your kid, because you might not have done that before.
Yep.
So now when you're living in the apartment or another house and your children go to bed, you can see them. You can pull them up on Skype and talk to them. She provides that service to everyone. That to me that's a great example of the sense of purpose and knowing exactly what she wants. She's also, well, I'll break away from just using her, but the good law firm owners and leaders are genuine and they care. They see the big picture. They understand what the big picture and what it takes to move. I look to roll that big rock along, not up the hill, but just along. They see what it takes to do that. They're good time managers, but not only for themselves, but for their staff. They know how long it should take to do things. They know that everybody, it doesn't run at the same speed as somebody else, but they understand that and they care enough about them to either help them or accept them. And you accept the fault with the accolades. And one of the biggest thing is they know when to ask for help. They know when that, hey, I don't know much about this. I'm very good in this area, but whether it's a marketing plan or whether it's a new, I'm looking for a new space to move into, lease negotiations. I've never done this before, then they know that they need to go find somebody to help them do that.
Right.
The other firms are good, and there's no, I'll never badmouth a law firm or anybody that's running a law firm because it's a heck of a responsibility. But most of those traits you don't see as much. They're sporadic. They come and go. There's the focus of those firms sometimes are either internal or external, but they're not both. The better firms being run and growth rates being accelerated, they're able to focus both outside and inside and recognize the strength of being able to do that.
Right. Okay, great. And I've only got you on here for about 10 more minutes or so, and that's my fault because of my time management skills are pretty terrible today. But I want to at the end of the interview here, we're going to give everybody your contact information and everything like that. But and I do want to encourage people to go and check you out because I think coaching, and that's what I call it. I think coaching is really invaluable for everyone. in any walk of life. You know, I mean, you always say, you know, look, Tiger Woods, he has a coach. Michael Jordan, he had a coach, right? So you can always use kind of that outside influence and a fresh set of eyes and experience in places that you don't have it to really push yourself forward and accelerate growth. But I guess that leads into what I want to give people an idea of what your process is like. So, you know, let's say I go to charlesvanconsulting.com is your website. Let's say I go there, you know, I see you, it looks good. I give you a call. What happens from that point forward? You know, what's your process like for your clients?
First of all, my clients and I work, and this is a core value that I have. I work for my client. I am not a person that comes in and says, "Oh, here's what you're doing wrong," or "Oh, you should have never done that." That's not good business, and that's not me. Not only as a consultant, but as a person. I come in as somebody, as a resource for you. I come in and I help you examine. You tell me, and I'm not asking for, you know, textbook knowledge as management strategies and all that. I want to know what you're feeling about your firm. Tell me what you think is good. Tell me what you think is bad. And tell me why you think that's good, and tell me why you think that's bad. And through our conversations that we have, we will jointly decide and do kind of we will prioritize what is going on in your firm that needs, you know, immediate attention or short-term or long-term, mid-term, long-term attention. Particularly if you're having a workload problem. You know, let's say that we come in, we talk about it, and we ascertain between the both of us that, you know, Chris, it sounds to me like you're at that point in your growth cycle to where the silo was full. You can no longer do all these administrative tasks, including you haven't billed in how long? Well, you know, if you don't bill, you don't have to worry about getting clients because you're not going to have the business. I mean, it goes away. Right. But we'll talk about how you can better manage your workflow to give you time either to do more work or maybe time that you can spend on developing a different marketing strategy to bring work in. What does that mean? Well, we may have to have somebody for you to leverage it down to. So we're talking about workflow and leverage. We're talking about getting the work in, leveraging it to an associate to a paralegal. That gives Chris more time to be the owner of the firm and get a better picture of all the workings. But I come in, we talk about that. We talk about that for the first 2 or 3 times, and the program I have is either on it's either on a as needed basis or transactional basis, or I have a 14+1 membership, which is I only work with 15 people a month. That's I cap it at that, and I call it 14+1 because I want everybody in that group to think that they are the +1, and that's how I try to make them feel. And then we have an ongoing relationship, and that we talk about we need this done. We agree we need it done. Once we get it done, we want to see these results. I help you get it done, or I do it. Then I help you in not only enjoy the benefits of what we've accomplished, but also hold you accountable for it. That's a big thing that I've heard, and I see other consultants really not doing. It's the old used to be an IBM commercial, I think it was. And the consultants were sitting in front of the client's desk, and the client puts the report down and says, "Yes, by golly, let's do it." And those two guys look at each other in front of his desk saying, "Well, we just tell you what to do. We don't do it." So it's left up to them to do that. I think that the accountability, I can make sure that we do have that accountability, and then we hopefully are creating more revenue.
Chuck, can you back up just maybe about 30 seconds because the connection went bad?
Okay.
I mean, just if you can basically just finish your thought one more time. It was only literally like 15 seconds or so, but you were just talking.
Okay.
Can you do that real quick? Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Accountability, I think, is in my business, that is my competitive advantage. I think that having somebody partnering with you that is a resource for you, that has knowledge that they can help impart with you and help you in any issue that you have, and then have accountability for what we're talking about and what we've accomplished and are doing. That to me is a partner I would like to have in my plan. I would like to have that person that I can depend on, and that somebody that can say, well, okay, Chris, we talked about this. I wrote it down. We had the steps. We had the date set up, and you're saying that you haven't implemented that. What do I need to fly out to Seattle and take you around to do that? If so, I'll do that. But you can't succeed with yesterday's bad habits. It just doesn't work. And accountability from a partner, somebody in my position, I think is key to all.
Yeah. And one of the things I like too, and I know your style in particular, but I think this kind of is another great reason to have a coach too, is they can kind of, it's nice to have someone that can see through your excuses and your fears and just kind of put it, because what'll happen, and I talk to people about their firms all the time too, and you hear people say things like, you will hear people say things like, I don't have time, or they'll say, oh, the market's bad, or they'll say, I don't know, my dog got sick, or it's Tuesday afternoon, or it was rainy. I don't know. I mean, but where you come in and can be very helpful is not just kind of not just pushing people through and saying those are just excuses, but also saying, look, I know that you're feeling like this is what's hanging you up, but could it be this other kind of underlying fear that once you recognize and internalize can actually help you kind of push through it, because there are tons of books and stuff out there, but there's the story of the guy that's a $30,000 salesman, whether you put him in a $10,000 market or a $100,000 market, because he in his mind, he thinks he's a $30,000 salesman.
Right.
And that's what I think people like you can really help people like us push through those things and reach our dreams, right? Reach our goals, because that's what it's all about.
Good point. And I thank you for the compliment that I can help people do that, because I think that's part of the genuineness that I have and that I want to have and display to the folks like you that I work with is, there are reasons for some how we act sometimes, and there are reasons that you might have to go lower and talk about it and get really uncomfortable about before you can really figure out what it is that is holding you back. And if I work with somebody and become the partner to them that I like to become, then I can help you with that. I can help you see perhaps that there's more to that than just than you just not having time to do it. Here's what I'm thinking is going on. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. You tell me how right or wrong I am, percentage basis, and let's figure out what it is. We're not going to figure it out. Counseling, and I did actually do about a year and a half of graduate work in psychology, counseling psychology, and then I realized that I probably needed more counseling than people I was actually helping. So I went another way. Became a full-time employee at the contractor. But there's a time where you come to the point that you recognize that in counseling that you have to understand, then you have to explore, and then you have to act. Understand what's going on, explore why it's going on. What are some things we can do to combat it or to offset it? And then you have to act. You have to do something. And sometimes acting is really doing nothing. You accept it. There's certain things about myself that as much as I'd like to change them, I just have to say, I can't, that's me. And I have to recognize the situations I get in, that's how I'm going to think, and that's how I'm going to react. And if it's a bad reaction, my action is to stay away from those situations. And if it's a good reaction, I try to put myself in those situations. So that's part of the coaching, that's part of the mentoring part of this is the more that you feel comfortable with me, the more that I'm more than willing to help you with that. It's not part of the plan, but sometimes it becomes so important that it really has to become part of the plan.
Definitely. Okay. All right. So I know you got to run here pretty soon. I got two short questions, and then I'll get you out of here.
Okay.
The one question I have that I ask everyone is, if you had one book that you could recommend that everybody go out and buy, because it's only that's the kind of investment that I think everyone should make. It costs you $20 to go get a book, and you can learn exponentially. What would be your book that you'd recommend that everyone go and get?
I actually thought about that, and I always go back to a book called Working Knowledge, and it was written by Davenport and Prusak, I think it was Prusak. It was written back right around 2000. But the working knowledge is really very applicable to law firms, professional service firms, particularly law firms. It's a book about how you take the knowledge, the intellect in your organization, and how you make it work for the organization. The knowing doing model that's out there. You know it, but how do you do it? I think that's one of the first books that I read that really got my attention. And I go back to it periodically and read certain sections of it. But it does help you make that transition to knowing. And I'm sure it's on publication. It was a very good reference book. But I think that particularly lawyers would not say enjoy. It's not a novel, but I think that you would understand what they're trying to say in that book to help you take the knowing and be able to work it into everything that you do, not only in your business, but also in your daily activity, daily life. And I just, right. That always jumps out at me. And I'm sure I've read others that probably, might be more on point, but I always fall back on that.
Okay, great. And there'll be a link in the show notes of this episode. I think it's going to be lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/68. There'll be a link there if you're driving or whatever. You can go see that. So last question is a simple one. If people want to get to know more about you or get in touch with you, where can they find you?
Just go to Charles Vann, and that's 2 N's, VANN, consulting.com. That's my website. And the website has some videos, introductory videos, and some frequently asked questions videos. But there's also a link to my calendar. And the calendar is it's a complimentary conversation, discussion that you and I can have, talking about, learn more about me and what I can help you with. And there's a link to the calendar just to sign on at the time and date that's convenient to you. And there's also a report that I've had about law firm management and some of the issues that are there that it's free download. You just click on that and it's yours for nothing. And as I say on the website, I look forward to talking with folks and see if I can help you and becoming hopefully a resource that you can go to and can depend on and a partner in your firm.
Cool, great. And I want to encourage people to go and get that report that you put together. It's called Why Many Law Firms Fail, What They Didn't Teach You in Law School About the Business of Law. It's free. And I know I haven't looked at it myself yet, to be honest, but I know that there's going to be a lot of great information in there. And what I'm going to do too is I'm going to make a link on my site that will just forward automatically to your site. So if you want to get that report, you can just go to lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/Chuck, and that will send you right to his website. So there'll also be a link to it in the show notes for that as well. But these kind of resources that are free, you need to go and check out, because I guarantee you there's going to be at least one nugget in there that is going to change the way that you look at your firm and the way you do business in a positive way. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And with that, I will let you go.
Well, Chris, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. And as always, it's good talking with you, and it's always been good working with you. Again, thank you for having me.
No problem.
All right, take care.
Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. One of the cool things about getting to interview people like Chuck is that I get to learn a little bit more myself. So I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, if you want to get that free resource, just go to lawfirmmarketingmastery.com/Chuck, and that will send you the site. You just have to put your email address in and you'll get his free report. And I guarantee you that report is chock full of great, helpful, useful information. And he wasn't lying too about when he was talking about having free spots on his calendar to just have an initial conversation to see what he can do for you. I'm 99% sure that's a free call. I know it is a free call. So get on his calendar and talk to him. And just see what he has to offer. I know you'll enjoy it, and everybody needs a coach. One last thing before I leave, as usual, I've got a great resource on my website right now. My top 5 lead generation resources, 3 of which are free, and the report itself is free. All you have to do if you want to see that is to go to lawfirmmarketingmastery.com, and it's right there at the top. You can't miss it, and I hope you can use that to generate some more business for your firm. Those are things that have really worked for me and my firm. And actually, I'm going to have to update that pretty soon, because creeping into the top 5 very, very quickly is my ultimate sales call process, which is something that members of Law Firm Confidential have access to, and is something that is I've been using to great success in the past several months. So that's it for the day. Have a great week. Once again, remember, if you want to be on the show, if you think you might be a cool email me at chris@lawfirmmarketingmastery.com. Just tell me a little bit about yourself, what you want to talk about, maybe some of your secrets to success real briefly, and we'll see if we're a good fit. Until then, see ya.